in the 2 minutes that remain, we would like to shift our focus now to Nancy Reagan. And obviously, as Ronald Reagan's biographer, you wrote a lot about Nancy. Your remembrance of the late First Lady?
Well, she was meticulous in her manners. Is that there was never a time where I didn't visit the presidential library, I didn't speak at the presidential library, I didn't send her a book, I didn't send her a ornament or send her flowers in which I didn't get a thank you note in return. And it was a personal note too, not just a manufactured note. I mean, she was the epitome of style and class and elegance, and it's obvious to see why Ronald Reagan was so madly in love with her for over 50 years. Is that she was smart, she was very, she was beautiful, she was a great conversationalist, she was charming, she was tough. She was everything in a woman that he wanted when he was looking in the late 40s after his unwanted divorce from Jane Wyman. He was very down. His movie career had hit the skids. He had of course, he just had the divorce with Jane Wyman. He had been badly injured in a softball game, a charity softball game, and so the first date he showed up on crutches, and he was injured in many, many ways. And she nursed him psychologically and physically and every other way to health. They didn't get married right away. They didn't fall madly in love right away, but they did. But it did pick up steam over the next several months, so that 3 or 4 years later they were married, and then began what was really one of the great love stories of the White House. I think that their marriage and their devotion to each other, their singular devotion, rivals that of the Adamses.
And yet, Craig, today you pick up the New York Times and the Washington Post obituaries that were negative in recounting the life of Nancy Reagan. 15 seconds. Are they just being disrespectful?
Yes, of course, JD. This is nothing new. Is that the Washington Post and the style section of the Washington Post have always had it in for Ronald and Nancy Reagan. Back to the time when they first entered Washington in January of 1901, they always ripped the Reagans.
Well, it was unfortunate to see, but obviously history will remember both Reagans, Ronald and Nancy, in stark contrast to the way in which the Washington Post recounted her life. Craig, Shirley, just this note, I'll have more on the life of Nancy Reagan later in this program. Back with more after this.